What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect, and right here in front of me, spinning around, we have the unimaginably named Anbernic RG35XX-H, and I'm standing and or sitting corrected right now. This device turned out to be a lot more than I thought it was going to be, so let's go on a little journey together and find out why. Here we have the Anbernic RG35XX-H, which is actually not named correctly. I know I think it's an unimaginative thing to do to name it the 35XX-H, but to be fair, this is actually the 35XX-H Plus, unless we went back to internals of the original 35XX. So this should be 8 syllables instead of 7, which is freaking ridiculous either way you look at it. Maybe that's why they took the plus out of there. I do like that this was one of the Anbernic boxes they're using this new gold leafing on. I know it's not real gold, but it looks way more high class. The old boxes weren't bad, but that makes it look a little bit more high class. So right here we do have our device as part of this unboxing experience. Underneath here, we do have screen wipes and a screen cover and this thing. That's probably not in English on one side. Oh, look, I got the English side right on the first try. That's got to be a first. So we got, tells you how to use things and stuff. This one actually will work. Unlike most of the Anbernics that we unboxed, there isn't any custom firmware really for this yet, so you don't have to worry about the manual function keys and stuff being different. Here's our screen wipes. All right, and then inside of here, we're going to have our charger, I'm sure. I don't know why I'm pulling this out. It looks like every other charger you've ever seen, but no, you want to see the end of it. Yes, it is a Type-C. This one does do C-to-C charging, though, too. Would have been kind of funny if they sent you a C-to-C charger for the first time. Now, with those things out of the way, we will take a look. Boom. Oh, it's on! Weird. Okay, I was playing with it. I'm not gonna lie. I needed to charge it, and I needed to play with it a little bit, and I already made a video with it in it. I posted recently going over how to set up RetroAchievements in the RG35XX Plus and the H. People have been having a hard time with it that are kind of new to the scene. So I put out a little instructional video. I'll link to it down here in the thingamabob if you need to go back to that video at all. Likely it'll probably just be the video that's recommended at the end of this video, but you never know. Do I try to put on screen covers on camera? I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Ooh, woofda. Ah, fudge it. Let's do it. You know, one thing with Anbernic screen covers is they tend to not be sticky around the outside, and or their screens have an arc to them, so screen covers on the outside tend to have a little white non-stick part out there. So hopefully this isn't one of those, because if it is, it probably won't have a screen cover on it very long. Oh, so shiny, so clean. Ooh, the soft and dry one. I've got 2 dogs, and I have a very small window between clean screen and dog hair. Pretty much, it's a surgical procedure. All right, now we just got to do this in our quick little window here. And it looks like... Oh, good. This one, I think, won't be as part of the bubble, I hope. I mean, I think that's going to be about right. As long as we didn't get any extra hair in there. Look at that. So good. Worked in an industry that for about 15 years where you had to put screen covers on a lot of different electric devices. But I was in management, so I didn't even put them on my own. I had other people do it, and now I'm like wishing I had maybe put on a couple of those just so I'd be better at doing it for this. Let's get my fingerprints off here so we can look at it. Let's just take a look at it, would you? All right, here we do have the, again, 35XX-H plus or minus. It's got to be a plus. Before we go through and test out some games and things on this device and talk about what we do and do not like, let's go over the specs real quick. Take a look at her. She is a 3.5-inch beautiful screen, IPS full view, full lamination at 640 by 480, running on an H700 quad-core ARM Cortex-A53 chip at 1.5 gigahertz. It is running a Linux operating system. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, it is dual-core on a G31 MP2, and it is Linux. It has 1 gigabyte of LPDDR4 RAM. Got a 64 gig SD card on there, which runs the operating system, and as we all learned with the RG35XX Plus, I'm just going to keep saying it so that I can get it down and stop stumbling over the names of these Anbernic devices, because they're just getting longer, they're not getting better. So what we did learn with the RG35XX Plus is that the 64 gigs is actually required in order to do a software update for a software thing that's less than like 5 gigs. So it's just a whole bunch of empty folders, which is really weird. This does have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which is great when you want to do retro achievements, which again, I made a video about this the other day. Go back and look at that. I'm not going to teach you how to do retro achievements on here as far as setting them up, but it is on here. It does have a 3300 milliamp battery lasting 8 hours, and this does do C-to-C charging, 5 volts, 1.5 amps. Booyah. Before I forget, because I always do, there will be links to any and everything I talk about today down in the thingamabob, including, again, that setup manual for retro achievements. So here is the device. Let's go through the I/O quick like we always do. We'll start on the top. We do have our shoulder buttons. This one does include L2 and R2, which is great. These are the really clicky ones, but honestly, they're not as loud as some of the Anbernics, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't complain about it. I know some people have been, but I'm not going to be that guy. We do have our function button right here, we do have a DC in for charging as well as an OTG out. This is a mini HDMI hole, so you just need a mini HDMI hole connector. We do have another OTG port. These are going to be for controllers and things. We do have a 355mm headphone jack, which I'm learning more and more that I like having on these devices more than anything else as far as audio goes. Just, I don't know, there's something about having a chance to pull out some headphones that I've had sitting around for a while. I can use them with these, and it's great. I don't have to worry about them. All right, on the back here, we do have a back, and we also have these rubber grippies. So these here aren't actually for holding onto it. They're for preventing sliding. I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience with these Anbernic devices, this is exactly where my fingers go, so maybe it's helping it from sliding out of my hand. As you can see, these do pick up a little bit of fingerprints, but these are not that bad. I wipe it down every couple days, it'll be fine. Right back around here, we will go to the right side over here. We do have our power button, and we do have a reset button right over here. Flipping over to the other side, we do have our volume. These are inset as well as the power and reset on the other side. Try to get an angle here where you can see it. There you go. So here's your volume up and down. Hopefully we won't be hitting these like people were doing on the Retro Pockets where they were changing stuff all the time. On the bottom here, we do have, on the bottom here, we do have two speakers, which are down facing. They actually sound pretty good. We do have a memory card, TF1. This is going to be your operating system, and then TF2, this is going to be your ROM card. You can have cards on here. You can have cards on cards. Yeah, that's right. You can have ROMs on here, but this would be the preferable place to have your ROMs, and it will come up with an option as to where you want to pull those ROMs from. I haven't switched it yet. This is actually one of the best Anbernic cards that I have tested so far. Anbernic sometimes misses really hard on these cards, and this time they definitely did not miss. It has a lot more English ROMs than a lot of them had in the past. Of course, I left all these fingerprints on the front. Why wouldn't I? Because I had the thing upside down with my hands. Sweet. Here we have our start and select buttons. We have a D-pad. This D-pad's actually pretty solid. I say that like we wouldn't expect that from Anbernic because Anbernic makes really good D-pads, but this D-pad is good to go. We do have our face buttons, or ABXYs, and I'm going to show you something. It's hard to see on the camera, but look at your device in real life. So this blue looks a lot more blue on the camera, but if you look at it, you can tell it's actually not as prominent as the other colors here. I guess you can that kind of shows it, right? So you can see all the other buttons really well. I don't need to know that that's an X, but my OCD is so bad that I squint at it and I still can't see that there's an X on there when I've been playing for a little bit. That color is wrong. It needs to be a little bit more vibrant. It's really throwing it off. We do have our indicator light right here. It's an LED that just tells you if you're charging or if you're on. Right now, obviously, it's in standby, so you'd want to know that so you don't kill your battery. And we do have these beautiful Switch-style joysticks, and they do click. Perfect. I think that's everything we got for the outside of the device, so let's take a look at her. There is not really much for aftermarket OSs for these. I know people are trying to make them. I'm going to guess that the 35XX Plus will probably get the most attention, at least initially, because it's a common device. They haven't really had to make anything for these Anbernics with this style layout in a while, where you have your joysticks and things like that, and in a horizontal form factor. Not to say they won't, because this is kind of where it all began back in the old RG350. That's what kind of got the love from the devs and really started moving this forward, because prior to that, Anbernic was using a very open source Linux system, and so the devs were able to use those devices to start creating new things like Garlic. So right here on your main screen, you do have a game room. This is going to have all your emulators in it, so all your outside of RetroArch emulators are going to be based in here. You would pretty much only need this for PSP. Everything PS1 and below, I'd say use RetroArch for. You're probably safer, and that's what this is, your RetroArch. It has an interesting problem that's driving my OCD nuts as well. You can't get to the next page without going through the last one on that page. And if you keep going, it just keeps going up and down, right? At minimum, you have to scroll to this as fast as you can by, maybe going up here and then going down. You can't keep going because it scrolls back until you hit the last one, which is stupid. But if you are on the main page, you can just go backward one and you start from the back side. So there's that. Inside this apps folder here, we do have some different options. Arcade modes, we do have a bezel mode for putting your bezels around if the screen size isn't proper for them. Night mode, which just dims everything out. This quick shutdown, I had it on, I turned it off because I realized that I couldn't put it into standby really, because instead of putting it standby, it just shuts it down. Not bad. The shutdown on here actually does do like an autosave and what have not, but it takes longer to load up. Like if I'm just in a conversation and I just want to stop it real quick and just put it into standby versus, having to wait for it to reboot. You do have your shaders right here if you want to get shady with it. And then this vertical rotate actually does bring it forward and rotate it like this, similar to the Trimu Smart that does that as well. So you can play vertical arcade games. Pretty awesome. There are a few ports on here. Some of them don't work, just so you're aware. I was playing Wolfenstein though, and that was working just fine, but I can't remember what I tried to play, and the port isn't even installed on here. There is a spot for it. Might have been this one. Yep. So this port's not actually installed on here. but it's got a spot for it. So just so you're aware, you may come across a port that's not there. So you do have all your systems here. We might as well just start at the beginning. So I'm not going to name them all off. If you just want to take a look, we're going to start at PSP. We got PS, obviously, all the CPs, some Neo Geo, some Final Burn. We got some Super Famicom. We got some Genesis / Mega Drive. We got some Game Gear. You know, I loved the Game Gear. Let's go back to this Game Gear. I loved the Game Gear when I had one as a kid. The games on it suck, though, kind of. Is there any good Game Gear games that you really like that maybe I could try out? Because the only games that I've really liked are the ones that I played as a kid. I went and tried to play some other ones the other day, and they just weren't very good. It seems like the quality versus the regular Sega games just wasn't there, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just trying to play the wrong games. Down there in my comment section, if you got some Game Gear games that you like to play, that you think I should try out, that, yeah, it doesn't matter the genre, I kind of like everything. Not a huge RPG guy as far as like the JRPGs, but I could swing with it if I have to. If you just leave those down in my comment section, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. So we got Game Boy Color, Wonder Swan, PCE, a Neo Geo Pocket Color, and then we got the Naomi systems you saw. Here are the ports and the app changes, and I am going to stop recording because it's fucking loud. As far as operating system and gameplay, it all is the same as the 35XX Plus, and I've already gone through all that. Not really any point to doing that here, so for the sake of time, we're going to go through some things on here because I have carried this around for a couple of days. But if you do want to see some gameplay footage, again, just go check out the review I did over there on the 35XX Plus because it will give you the exact same footage. Now, there is some advantages here because we have joysticks, which are awesome. There's a lot of vertical handsets last year, so to get a horizontal is kind of a treat. So let's talk about this for a little bit. This device was okay. And, you know, like I talked about in that video, we need some software for it. Same problem we have here, right? We were missing software. Now I'm starting to think that this one might actually be heavier than this one. So in reality, this is a much thinner device, though longer, much thinner, much more pocketable. This fits in your pocket much better. Even with these joysticks sticking out, they stick out less far than these back buttons do. Let's figure out the weight difference here. Now I'm curious. Everything just fell over. So we're looking at 194 grams versus 185. See, 10 grams. I could feel that. I knew it. I knew it had to be lighter. So beyond being lighter, this is far more pocketable just because of the way it sits. These tend to get stuck on your pocket when you're pulling it in and out. These do not have that problem. So that is kind of nice. At least I haven't had that issue with it yet. I am glad, honestly, that they went with a inline shoulder versus a stack just for the sake of making it thinner so it fits in your pocket better. This is a fairly comfortable device. This could become my daily driver. And it's hard to say that because I'm a huge Mio Mini fan, but I'm almost there. You know, the Onion OS is really what makes the Mio Mini what the Mio Mini is. Not the most powerful device on the market, not by any stretch of the imagination, but yet still such an amazing device. This would be my daily driver. I am so corrected from my original impressions of this before I had my hands on it because I just thought that this was like a 350 coming back out. This is thinner than the 350. It's lighter than the 350. I'm also glad that they made this out of plastic. I think metal would have sucked. This does get warm though after, you know, a solid hour or two of gameplay. The back will start to get warm. Not like ouch warm, but like, you know, you can feel that it's warm. It's not going to heat you up when it's 40 below outside. Trust me, I tried. And speaking of that, one other thing that I did notice is the plastic in these joysticks does get really stiff when it's cold out. And so if you're, I don't know, waiting for a ride or, you know, for whatever reason you end up outside when it's super cold here in the Midwest. The other day I was unable to use these joysticks. I was all over the place. The joysticks just get stuck. It wouldn't let me turn or anything like that. So I had to switch back to the D-pad and the face buttons, which is fine. But all in, I'm sold on this. This will be on my top devices of the year this year for sure, if they can update the software. That is really the biggest problem right now. And this software from Anbernic, as mentioned before, does not allow for over-the-air updates. We're still running into that problem where it doesn't have over-the-air updates, and these updates are huge for these devices for absolutely no reason, so it's going to be a little discouraging. I do have to swap out the card on here because this one's just one of those generic 64 gig cards. I'm also going to put about 500 gigs worth of games on here in the hopes that they do the software so that I can make this my daily driver. I did put up a post on my community page the other day, so if you want to go back and check that out or just leave it down here in my thingamabob, I'm looking for some games to play that I haven't played before. Just some suggestions. I've played a lot of games, but there is so many I'm finding that I've never played, and instead of wasting my time getting an hour into a game and finding out this game sucks, it'd be awesome if I could just have you guys leave me some recommendations of stuff you like, and if it sucks, I'm not going to tell you. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. One of the last things I want to talk about is the D-pad on here is not the best for fighting games. This D-pad actually is really terrible with diagonals. We gave it the old Contra test. You're kind of all over the place. Woohoo! Got the old up, down, down. Award achieved. So just by example, if you want to give it the old Contra test, it's not the greatest. Just something to be aware of. I don't play this game very often. I think I play it more now that I do reviews just because it kind of gives me a good feel for stuff. And the opposite side of the Contra test is okay for shooting because it already wants to be in those directions. So, but if you're laying down, it's almost always going to pop back up. which is really unfortunate. Oh, hi, editing me here. Sorry, I totally forgot to talk about the one thing that drives me absolutely crazy about this device. It's location of this function key right here. You use this to get in all your menus, and it is in the complete wrong spot. For instance, if you want to do things like fast forward, you're like function R1, things like that. But the biggest issue I have with it isn't even the fact that it's there for doing stuff like that. It's the fact that it's there and it's not a power button. Now, I do like that they inset the power buttons on this, so we're not going to see the issues with hitting power buttons on accident. That part is pretty cool. Problem is every time I go to turn on the device, because every other device has the power button right here, I continue to hit this and think it's the power button. You would assume that there'd be power and volume right here, based off of 90% of the devices on the market right now, and this is not the power button. So I sit there and continue to hold it, and the damn thing never turns on, and that's because it's not a power button. So just some word of the wise, it takes a while to get used to that, and if you use as many devices as I do, where you're going back and forth, you may never get used to it, because I don't think I'm getting used to it. I also don't like that the sticks are on the bottom. If this was designed so you could use higher end systems, this stick should be up on top. I think that's part of my biggest gripe with this looking like the RG350, is because it does look like the RG350 because the sticks are in the wrong spot. Now, power-wise, most of your games are probably going to be using the D-pad anyways, but the idea behind putting a D-pad on here so you could play those more powerful games with this more powerful chip seems to me like that stick should be up on top to use this as a daily driver. Then I will probably get used to it because I will have it with me all the time. But so far, that is my biggest pet peeve of this entire device, amongst the other things that I just listed up. And now back to your regular scheduled program. Let me know down in the comment section what you think about this device. Do you have this handheld already? Is it something you're looking at purchasing? Do you have any other questions about it or anything else you want me to test or try? I already did the RetroArch question. I will go back and do some other ones though, possibly. If I have enough of them, I'll make another video, or I'll sneak them into another video, however that ends up working out. But yeah, please let me know your opinions. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share this video with your friends because sharing helps grow the channel, and I could use all the help that I can get. Thanks for watching. Bye! Well, this video came out at the wrong time, didn't it? Sorry about that. I have had a long week. Appreciate you making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, there's a subscribe button floating around up here. Feel free to hit it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too, but I would like it if you did. I think that you'll like yourself more if you hit that button. On top of that, there's a couple videos up here that YouTube thinks you're going to like, so they're never wrong. So I would probably click on one of these things over here and check it out, see what it's all about. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I'm out.